Okay, excited to kick things off with the 40 plus Masters All-Star Division. This one we got Mike versus Mike. Mike Mussolino on the left and Mike McMillan on the right. And remember, I said no-gi tends to be a faster pace. There's less option for grips. So especially in the standing position, you tend to see a lot more action than contrasting with the gi. So both guys have a fairly low stance here. Mike shoots right away on the double leg. He almost lost his balance, but he recovered on top. And now he's trying to fight off this guillotine. He probably gave the points a little early there because the guillotine's still on. He should have to escape the guillotine and then get the two, which he did there. Let's look again in more detail. So Mike has a good stance here, but the issue is when he shot on the double leg, usually you shoot in a straight line with the double leg and he kind of turned the corner. I don't know if that was intentional, but it kind of caused him to lose his balance. But he did the smart thing and followed the momentum right on top. And Mike McMillan in this position should be trying to use the guillotine. Keep the guillotine. If he could try to get his left hand posted to the floor, scoot his hips away, he could try to recover, maybe get back to a standing position. But like I said, once Mike pops his head free here, he secured his 2 points for the takedown. And he peels the wrist off. And now Mike McMillan did a nice job of not letting him mount. He kind of switched legs with his half guard. But in this situation, it's 2-0. And Mike Mussolino on top, his job now is to take away all this space here. He needs to cross-face, underhook, and look to pin McMillan's back to the floor. He's got to try to create some space here. Mike Mussolino tries to throw the legs by. And Mike, see how he's just reaching a little bit too far with his arms? Mike McMillan should try to bring those hands closer to his face and try to use his whole forearm to frame across Mike's neck and two shoulders. That would be a lot better use of his arms here. You don't want to reach too much because it's going to allow the guy to open your elbows, and that's not what you want. Mike Mussolino in this situation just has to keep the pressure. He escaped his leg from the half guard, so now he secured points for the guard pass. And now it's really just about slowing things down. He tries to step to mount there, but see how Mike McMillan's trapping that other foot? That was a sneaky little move to regain a quarter guard. He should be looking to trap the knee and fully transition to half guard. If you just have the ankle, it's not going to be nearly as effective as if you have the knee. When you trap the guy's knee, you have his whole leg. Mike McMillan also has to be careful with his right elbow position there. He's got to bring that elbow down. Now, I like what he's doing here. See the leg fighting that's going on? He's fought into a lockdown. But Mike's going to go low, lock his hands together, sprawl out, and look to clear it off. Nice lockdown and a nice counter. See how he brings that left foot over, the right foot shoelaces are going to hook on Mike's shoelaces. That's the lockdown. And Mike recognized it right away, the pressure on his leg. So a move that we had worked on earlier in the week was breaking the lockdown with this kind of connect your hands below the butt and sprawl out. And that creates a lot of force, and it makes it really tough for them to keep the lockdown. That was a nice clearing of that. And he's able to just immediately go back on putting the pressure on. And I mentioned before, Mike McMillan has to be careful with his elbow position here. You never want your elbow across your center line. That's going to be head and arm choke danger. Lots of bad things can happen. So see how you can't see Mike's elbow, but it's basically on top of his chest, and then Mike Mussolino is able to bring all of his weight on top of that shoulder. This is a very, very bad position. You have no safety from the cross face. The guy can crank on your face with his arm. He can enter knee cuts. He can try to pop his knee out and go for the back. And Mike used that to pass. That was a nice maneuver. Now Mike's up at least 5 points here. He's got a takedown, 2 for that, 3 for the pass. These matches were only 5 minutes in length, so Mike McMillan has quite a bit of catching up to do from here, and it would have to start with a regard attempt. He should be looking to bring that left arm inside. If he could get his left elbow, Mike McMillan, and go elbow first for that underhook, that would be effective. But this time, the hand up, that's not really going to do it. See, he's still leaving his hand at a position. Now he's thinking about it, but it's a little bit too late. See how that elbow is very high? That's not good. Mike locks his hands together and gets a powerful Americana. So if Mike McMillan on the bottom, if he could have done a little bump, go elbow first onto the side of Mike's rib cage, he might have been able to get an underhook. I mean, it's going to be tough, obviously, but just holding that wrist is not going to do it because Mike's able to move his arm around, like you can see, and he just needs to win one battle, just kind of disconnect just for a second. And now he's got it. Now Mike McMillan's arm's in a bad spot. Mike Mussolino's just kind of floating over top, just kind of has to hold his position. Now he can threaten a head and arm choke here, but instead he grabs the wrist. He's going to look to pin that wrist to the floor, grab his own wrist, and now he has a powerful Americana lock to get the submission. Great match. I told you these matches would be fast-paced with a lot of submissions. Mike played the strategy well. I thought that his moves are good. Mike McMillan has to just try to pull the trigger a bit quicker from standing and really watch that elbow position. But great match.